Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call our regular meeting of August 5th, 2020 to order, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence, please. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item on our agenda is accept or modify the agenda.
I move that we accept the agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item is community participation. Participation, if I can read tonight, is a time intended for public to give input on relevant school issues and not intended to be a question and answer period, as this may be the first time the board has heard this information. Please do not expect individual responses or any comments by the board at this time, but be assured that any concerns will be reviewed. Please print your name on the sheet at the podium, state your name, address, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Do we have anyone? Ms. Oakland?
Good evening, I'm Kim Oakland. For those of you who don't know me, although I don't think there's anybody that doesn't, I am a teacher at Ressie Jeffries Elementary School in the Morrison County Education Association, and excuse me if I keep doing this, I just had cataract surgery, which is great. I don't need glasses, except now I need them to read, so I'm doing this.
That's okay, that's okay.
As I sat down to prepare my remarks for this meeting, I realized that my comments could really be summed up in 3 statements. I'm sorry, thank you, we will. I'm sorry that you all have been put in the position of having to choose an instructional plan, knowing that regardless of which you choose, some people are going to be unhappy with you. I'm sorry that you have to choose a plan knowing that it could be changed by the governor and the State Board of Education at any time. I'm sorry that we can't have every child in school every single day without restrictions, but we can't. So thank you. Thank you for being willing to make the hard decisions. Thank you for caring about the well-being of our students and staff. Thank you for wanting to ensure teachers have the tools and the training that they need to meet the challenges of this year. Thank you for making sure that our students have the resources they need to be successful. And I want to just say, I'm digressing from my little written part here, just to say, I want to thank, Buck said it in a meeting the other day, and I'm going to say it publicly, our food service and transportation employees have gone above and beyond this summer to make sure that our kids eat. And we recognize that. We're very grateful to them. And thank you for being the cheerleaders for our schools and not just fair weather fans. We will get through this pandemic together. We will do what needs to be done to ensure our students get the best education possible. We, the teachers, will do what you ask of us. We will help our students and colleagues learn from mistakes, and we will celebrate their successes. And when this pandemic has passed, and it will pass, the teachers of Warren County will still be here wanting the best for their students and working to achieve that. So, I'm sorry. Thank you. We will.
Thank you. Anyone else like to speak? All right. Next item is consent agenda. We have a motion.
You have
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the consent agenda as presented.
Second? Second?
I didn't hear, sorry. All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Reports. Mr. Livesey, update on AS Rhodes Elementary School renovation project.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I can't believe the summer's almost over and we're moving so fast with the road renovation project. And this is actually the first update we have provided the board since we began this project. So, like I say, it's been a fast-moving project. As you know, we began work at AS Rhodes early April 1. We're able to get started a little earlier because of the early school closings. Lance has performed very well for us. The scope of work on this project is, as you know, very extensive. This is a total interior renovation, new roofing system, new windows, new building systems, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, and I mean, everything is brand new. So this isn't a small scope of work. It's a very complex scope of work, and it's been managed very well from the get-go. Was scheduled to be performed in 2 phases. The first phase, substantial completion, is August 11th, with the second phase being early November. And I need to back up a little bit. The first phase is basically 75% of the building, the new main office, about 10 classrooms, restrooms, cafeteria, kitchen, I'll call it. So that's basically about 75% of the upper level. The remaining spaces and the lower level, what we call Title I space, are Phase 2. And again, that's scheduled for completion, substantial in early November. We've been fortunate. We had minimal site work short of some trenching, for underground lines, et cetera, and new roofs. So there's very, very few, if any, serious or big weather delays with this job. Of course, it did rain pretty well when we started the membrane roof, and that's expected. So,
Par for the course.
yeah, but that has come off very well. With the substantial completion of August 11th, we're going to have our backs to the wall a little bit. I'm not going to mince words, but to get the building ready, we still have the final clean of the facility to do, the application of the floor finishes and all the new flooring material, as the bulk of the space is VCT tile or flooring, and then move everybody back in before the teachers start coming back. So it's going to be a busy next two to 3 weeks for everybody. Like I say, it looks wonderful. If you get the chance, you want to go take a walk, please, I'll be happy to take you up there. Walking in the other day with the new electrical service and power to the building and all those lights lit up, the building's just got a totally different feel to it. We know how old things were in that school, so it is going to be a nice building, nice facility when it is completed. So we will be working with the county officials. We had earlier discussions with them way back during the demolition phase about the 2 phases of the job and receiving a partial temporary occupancy permit so we can move back into that first phase. They were more than willing and cooperated with us, and in the next week to 10 days, I imagine we'll be talking with them again to go ahead and begin that process, so we can go ahead and move into the building legally. So, any questions?
HVAC, Mr. Livesey, says scheduled to be delivered on August 14, 9
Yes,
days.
that's, the new HVAC system includes 6 rooftop units, meaning so we'll have zones, or the building will be compartmentalized. So if we lose a unit, we're not going to lose the entire building. 3 of those 6 have arrived, have been installed, and are actually running as we speak today. Now, they're not fully functional because there are other systems that have to be tied into them, i.e. fire alarm, duct detectors and things. The remaining 3 are due in August 14th to be shipped. So that was one of the slight delays because of COVID. There were a couple, but those 3 remaining rooftop units. But it should not impact. We're still way ahead of the game versus the old window air conditioning units that the school used to have.
Absolutely. I was all excited. Coming up 81 the other day, I saw some units on a tractor and trailer.
Did you follow them into the job, or?
No, I told my wife, speed up a little bit so I can see if I can see a name on the side of it.
They're up there and they're running.
So, that's
Yeah.
great.
So it's
Glad to
doing
hear.
very well.
I'd like to take you up on one of those tours.
Give me a call, be happy to take you up. It's,
Okay.
now you can really start to see what's going on. Again, you know, the architectural changes were made. The main office is now at the front of the building, where it should
Should
be,
be.
with a secured entrance vestibule. So just looking at that, and the principal has some prime real estate with her office. The view is worth the money, so.
Yeah, she did get a view out of that.
Did she?
Didn't she? Yeah, that's true. No, that project has moved along, and we greatly appreciate
No,
all the
it's
hard
done very
effort your
well.
group has put into it.
Let me know when you go, I'll go.
I think you're going to have a full group.
Just pick up the phone, let me know.
Okay, great. Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you so much. All right. Superintendent report. Dr. Ballinger.
Just a little update, graduation trail last Friday and Saturday, our live stream. Well, on the campus, on our live stream. We had some positive comments from the individual on live stream. We started with our new teacher orientation on Monday, and there was some releases from the Virginia Department of Education this week on accreditation waivers.
Yes.
And so the big news was that for the 2021 accreditation waive will be the status for this year for schools as they issue it next year. You know, it always runs for the previous year. So, but we do have that accreditation waive as a rating for all schools in Virginia for 2021. There are a few other waivers released that deal with really credentialing and technical education, also student selected tests, attendance waivers, and just a lot of handful of other waivers that we will be working through as we move through this year. We have professional development sessions that are being created. We're excited and ready to move forward as we develop those and deliver those to our teachers and to our parents and students as we move through. Our learning management systems are coming online, and teachers, I believe, are starting to get access so that they can start creating and working in those learning management systems.
Okay.
Mask.
It is the mask.
Well, yeah. And let's see here. Oh, okay. So, as far as some bad news with, with the situation that we're in, so far we've had 30 additional students sign up for home instruction that were students in Warren County Public School last year. We've had an additional 6 students apply for a religious exemption that were students in Warren County Public School last year. But on a positive note, we have had 7 students that were on home instruction last year are coming back to Warren County Public Schools. So, we still have a little deficit there with losing a few more students than we're gaining.
That it, Dr. Ballinger?
That's it, sir.
All right. School board report. Let's start. Mr. Renard. You keep moving on me, I can't sit. You can't hide.
Well, I've had some calls from parents. I've had some calls from school teachers. I've tried to return the calls and talk with them personally on the telephone and get their what their feelings are. And a couple of them are pretty scared, so I guess we'll discuss that later. But all in all, things look like they're running pretty smooth.
Ms. Bowers?
I just want to say congratulations to the Warren County High School and Skyline High School graduates from this past weekend. I did have the opportunity to go by Skyline High School's graduation ceremony and spoke with a lot of staff members and parents and graduates. And one parent told me that she thought it was even better than the typical graduation because the parents were actually able to get up close and see the graduate walk across the stage, take pictures, and she didn't think it would turn out that nicely, but she was very appreciative of it. And, I want to say great job to all the staff that put that together. That's all.
Thank you. Dr. Pence?
The Mountain Vista Governor's School Board met virtually last week and has decided to push their start date back to August 24th. New instruction is going to start on August 31st, and the first quarter is going to be completely virtual. We voted to move the date back just because area school systems that are all involved kind of have all this mismatch of when schools are starting, so to kind of try to meet in the middle for a start for all the counties involved. August 24th seemed to be kind of right there. And then I also wanted to say congratulations to the graduates. I saw the online on the recordings of both, and I was a little bit nervous before it happened because I got a lot of emails about concerns on how the graduation was going to go, and I think that just all the staff and all the students, the parents, teachers, everybody that was involved, they really looked great, and I heard a lot of really positive outcomes, so congratulations for that, for all the students.
Thank you, Dr. Pence. Mr. Wells.
I was fortunate enough to go to the Warren County graduation, both sessions, and again, the staff who worked on it, as Ms. Jordan said, had been working on it all summer, not just the last couple of days. Appreciate them and everything that they did, and Skyline as well. And then I also had the opportunity to go and see the group of 15-year-old kids that we evidently hired as teachers this week. Not sure why people that young teach, but they seem to be very enthusiastic, and even with the daunting times we're in, they're very ready to go, ready to, as our superintendent said, practice their craft. And so it was a good opportunity, and we're glad to have them. We're very pleased that they chose Warren County to begin their careers.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wells. Unfortunately, I did not make the graduations this year. It was the first time in 5 years I've missed them. And like you all, I heard a lot of tough times at the beginning before graduation, and then after graduation, I heard nothing but good comments from everybody. Whether they were really worried about it at the beginning, after it was over with, they were tickled to death. And Ms. Bauer, you're right. Everybody loves being up front where they could see their child. And that makes it good. So maybe it's something we need to think about later on. You're not sitting in the nosebleed seats in the stadium. I don't know. We can discuss that at a later time. That's all I have. Next item, action agenda, approval of 2020-2021 plan for school reopening. Dr. Ballinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
All right. So there was a lot going into the development of our plan. As we moved through our plan, we had to follow guidance from the Centers for Disease Control, the Virginia Department of Health, Virginia Department of Education. And so really, as we worked through that, we had to take into consideration physical distancing requirements, face coverings, daily health screenings. Our health plans have been submitted to the Virginia Department of Education, and of course we follow the recovery, redesign, and restart. With our face coverings, as a division, we are going to recommend that 6 through 12 wear a face covering from all day long with students and teachers. Our elementary students, we're going to ask for requirements of when they walk into the building or in a transition that a face covering is on, but while the student is seated at their desk, they may be able to remove that face covering. I was at Ressie Jeffries, and one teacher had actually taken some tape and put a little rectangle around, and that is the mask-free zone. Anytime that student steps over that tape, the face covering has to come on. And so, those are some of the guidance that we had to follow, and the considerations, of course, is health and safety of students and faculty. We know that there is the COVID slide. There are learning gaps. It's been 6 months since students have been in school. And we know that those gaps are there, and so we really need to consider learning experiences, in person versus just getting with our students and understanding where they are. So those learning experiences and how students learn help to fill those gaps and understanding where they're at. Our social emotional learning and the physical and mental health of our students. Mr. Hirsch reported this week he was in contact with social services, and social services had reported or released a statewide document this year or just this week, that since March 13th, school divisions or schools or teachers were the #1 reporters in the Commonwealth. Since then, they're not even in the top 10. And information that Mr. Hirsch relayed that in Warren County, yes, the reports and the cases have gone down, but the cases that social services are dealing with are more serious, more severe. And they also reported that they know that when school starts, whether it's in person, full, virtual, whichever, that they know they're going to get an influx of calls, and they're preparing to take those. And actually that social services mentioned that they felt that it was beneficial for students to be in contact with the teachers, just to help with some of those severe cases that it minimizes and helps to mitigate that. And so also we wanted to look at our family engagement, food services with our students with the food insecurities, and then equity. And so in developing our plan, again, Centers for Disease Control, Virginia Department of Health, guidance, surveys. We had to take into consideration additional expenses, school schedules, mitigation strategies throughout the entire division at each school, what that may look like, transportation and technology. So when we look at our surveys, we had 3,359 parents respond to our survey in selecting which option they would like to go with, and 498 staff members. And you can see the results with 60% of parents wanting some type of instruction, in-person instruction with our staff, around 53 wanting a virtual start. But just this week, the Virginia Department of Education, or Virginia Department of Health, released an interim guidance for reinstating community mitigation measures in K-12 schools. And that was released from the State Department of Ed in a webinar with Dr. James Lane. And through this, they've broken it down into low, moderate, and high transmission when you look at community transmission. And so with low community transmission, the recommendation is that you follow Phase 3 guidance. And Phase 3 guidance is, you have your mitigation strategies in place, but you bring as many students that you can physically get into a building following those mitigation strategies. When you look at your moderate community transmission, they recommend that you drop back to Phase 2 guidance, which limits you to pre-K through 3, your EL students, your special education students, and then of course, there's still some other things that they recommend there with removing extracurricular activities or eliminating them altogether, but keeping some measures in place to where you can have some students in following the VDOE guidance for Phase 2. And when you look at the substantial community transmission, this is where they recommend that you go full virtual or you drop back to Phase 1. And so I've been in contact with Dr. Green a couple of times this week, talking about where we are in our area. And so he provided this next slide, and we are in the low transmission right now. So according to the guidance from the new guidance that we're needing to follow or will follow through the Virginia Department of Health, that's the recommendation that we look at a Phase 3 opening with being able to bring students in to our area. So you can see that some areas have moderate transmission, but in our area, and he actually mentioned to me tonight when I was visiting with him that there is a low burden of disease and a low transmission in Warren County, just when he drills it down specifically to our county. So looking at that guidance, we decided to look at our Phase 3 opening instructional models. And we landed on two models, a hybrid model and a full virtual model. When we look at our two models, we have the hybrid, and in the hybrid, we're recommending that grades pre-K through 5 come in for 4 in-person days, or instructional days per week, with 1 day being a virtual day. And grades 6 through 12 receive 1 in-person instructional day and 4 virtual days. And then again, the full virtual model, for those parents or individuals that feel they would prefer the full virtual model, we can offer that to them and provide them a good quality service and a good quality education through our blended model of having students in our school buildings and within our classrooms and those that are at home. And you're going to see throughout and here two terms, blended learning and flipped classroom. So blended learning is basically just like I described. You have students in the classroom, you have students at home, the teacher's working with both and working through that model and on that LMS as they work through the educational process. And then your flipped classroom is more of a, yes, the teacher directs, but it's really student-led more because the teacher will work through that LMS, developing the lessons and guiding the students. But in this model, the face-to-face, that includes the practice, that includes, additional activities or feedback, or it's really kind of, it's more student-driven, and so students can kind of speed up as they need to speed up, and teachers are able to take that and hone with them on certain skills that will allow them to move forward. And so when we look at our in-person, so again, this is new, we will have new instruction for all students. So it does not matter which model a parent decides to go with, if they want the hybrid with their child in the classroom, or if they want the virtual with their child at home, they will receive new instruction. This is not the instruction that they received March 13th to the end of school. There will be assignments that have to be done. It is required. So we will also identify instructional gaps. Our curriculum pacing will be revised. We will use our CIP to help with delivering different assessments at various levels, and then we also have some other in-house assessments that will be used, and we will take those data sets and build into our curriculum and within our pacing guides where we need to adjust due to the curriculum or content that was missed since March 13th. And then again, we have our schedules with transportation being the driving force behind a lot of decisions, and the limitations that are placed within transportation. We had to be creative with the schedule, and so a student schedule at E. Wilson, Morrison, Leslie Fox Kaiser, and Ressie Jeffries will be an 8 o'clock to 1:30 schedule. When you look at Hilda J. Barbour and A.S. Rhodes, that's a 9 to 2:30 schedule, and then the middle and high schools, all 4 schools will run on a 9 to 3:05. And that's just because of the limitations with bus transportation and the number of students that can be placed on a bus. So there was just really no way that we could increase the numbers on our buses in order to equalize when schools started. So we had to be flexible to make sure that we could maximize the number of students that we could that we could put on a bus and get them in the classrooms. And so with our full virtual, again, new instruction for all students. We're still going to identify those gaps through those assessments. And then again, we're going to push everything through the learning management systems. Students will get, they will each receive a device from Warren County Public Schools. They will be assigned a Warren County Public Schools teacher to guide them through their virtual learning. So a teacher, certified teacher, will guide them through that. And then students remain on our rolls within our schools. And because they are going through our system, staying on our rolls, receiving instruction from a teacher, that still allows them to, if it's a high school student, yes, I can still play athletics because I am on the school's rolls going through this program right now. And they'll still be able to receive their food service, pick up their meals because they, again, are on our rolls. Again, as I mentioned, we have new instruction and grading. Yes, there will be grading. Again, March 13th, there was 0 grading. It was just to help support. Well, we will have that. And, that will be done through daily assignments, weekly lessons, projects. Teachers will be creative as they work through the LMS, the learning management system, but grading will occur. And so when we look at grading, we also know that we have to consider participation and attendance. Well, one of the waivers that the state just gave was one for attendance, where typically a student had to be in the seat when the teacher called roll to be present. Well, now they have some variances, and we'll go through those in a minute, but we still are going to follow the guidelines of if a student is on a virtual model and there has been no interaction with the teacher or with any teachers for 5 days, we're going to reach out to them. We should reach out to them before then, and we will. But again, we're going to have that 5-day cutoff that, yes, we're going to make as much contact as we can to find out what's going on. After 10, then we'll turn that over to the truancy officer. Because you still have to follow those guidelines as far as attendance. The Virginia Department of Education wants us to take that attendance, and we have to come up with a model. And we have a model that we will use, but we will still need to report that attendance. And then when you look at the hybrid, again, same thing, 5 unexcused, contact parents, 10 unexcused, then that will be turned over to the truancy officer. So when we look at participation and attendance, the Virginia Department of Education is allowing a time-based or a task or product-based. So when you look at the time-based, that's basically I'm physically in the room. You're counting me present just like typical. But now you can also count me if it's asynchronous and I'm logged in to the teacher's activity that day, they can count me present that day. Also, for instance, they can take a phone call. As long as they make meaningful connections, it has to be a meaningful connection with the student from one teacher or 2 teachers within the building. So one of the examples that they used was I'm going to throw middle school, high schools. On Monday, the math teacher has contact with me. On Tuesday, my English teacher. Wednesday, my science. Thursday, my social studies. Even though one teacher is only making contact with me 1 time a day, I'm present for that entire week. Or they can look at, they assigned a project, and if the project is being turned in on time, then that too can count as being present. So there's a lot of different ways that we'll be working on taking attendance this year. And we had some lengthy discussions with attendance, but we will work on this, and this will be something that will be challenging at times this year, especially with students in the buildings, students that are virtual, but we're going to work through that, and we'll do a good job. So when we look at Blue Ridge Technical Center, our plan is for year 2, year 3 students to drive to Blue Ridge Technology Center or Technical Center on the days that they're scheduled. And that's just allowing, because of the schedule adjustments that we're having to make at the high schools, so that they'll be able to receive quality instruction at the Technical Center. On Wednesdays, we're planning for our year 1 students to be transported. And so you can see that the Industrial Maintenance Trades Academy and Emergency Medical Technicians Academy, they will begin the week of the 24th, but they need to contact their instructor at the community college. And then our special education services, we will increase in-person time based on the student's IEP, and that committee will work and look at that to make adjustments and make recommendations as needed according to the individual education plan. We will make sure that we have least restrictive environment, again, as determined by the IEP. Our teams will meet and review individual IEPs to determine supplemental needs if needed, but then we'll also provide additional support at home if it's needed. And again, Dr. Pence had mentioned Mountain Vista Governor's School. They're going to start on the 24th. They're going to provide instruction virtually for the first quarter. So when we look at some of the mitigation strategies that we have in place to ensure the safety of our staff, the safety of our students, one, we have to designate 6 foot of social distancing between students. That's a given. That's in there. We plan to reduce the number of students assigned to a classroom. So instead of having 20 students in a classroom, you may see a classroom with only 10 students in it because of the size of the classroom and the limited number of student desks that can be placed in that classroom. But then again, you may have some classrooms that are large enough where you may be able to fit 15 students in that classroom and still be able to be spaced 6 feet social distancing. We plan on cleaning and disinfecting frequently. I know that Mrs. Shepard had mentioned that with Sodexo, they are going to increase the number of janitors at the school during the day, reduce those numbers at night so that we have more hands on deck during the daytime to help with those high surface areas that we need to make sure that we're cleaning. Again, then we're going to have our deep clean and disinfect, just not on Wednesdays, but we would like to do that 2 days a week, and it may be a weekend going into a Monday. Mitigation strategies is basically 3 slides, but because there's quite a few that we wanted to put in place to make sure that we are taking care of our people and taking care of our students, because that's our job. Again, we're going to require staff and students to wear face coverings at all times at the middle and high school at the high schools. We're going to encourage the students to wear the mask or face coverings at the elementary. Again, when transitioning at their desk, they may be able to remove those. Require frequent hand washing and utilization of hand sanitizer. Provide hand sanitizer, disinfecting wipes for all classroom. And then ensure that students have their own learning materials. So for our specials and our arts, when you look at your little pre-K, most of the time when you go into a pre-K classroom or into a kindergarten classroom, you'll see a box in the middle of the desk that is basically a community box, and students would always reach it. Well, that's no more. They have to have their own set of everything. And so we will individualize everything when it comes to our materials. Again, reduce class interactions in the hallways. We can make some schools, we can put directional. So yes, I may have to walk all the way back around to get to the class that's just 10 foot down the hallway, but we can make it directional to limit interaction between students and minimize the exposures by keeping the same groups together as much as possible. So for instance, at the elementary in the middle, we're going to kind of keep them in a bubble. They will be designated to their classroom. We'll rotate teachers in and out. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to stay in that classroom all day. They will still have to have their PE, get outside, do their exercises. They may transition here or there, but that will be minimal because we want to keep them confined to that bubble as much as possible, and just to have our teachers be able to come in and out as needed. So when we look at our transportation, again, transportation, in order to ride the bus, you have to wear a face covering, because we are not going to be able to keep 6 feet of social distance on the bus. We are going to put one student staggered in each seat, so they are within that 6 foot barrier. So if a student, if they have a condition, then that may be something we have to look at. But if a student is just refusing to wear a face covering on the bus, then they will not be able to use that as transportation simply because of the barrier and the mitigation. We plan on taking temperatures before students get on the bus in the mornings. And so we will also load buses from the rear to the front. And and we will unload from the front to the rear to make sure that we are not having students pass by as much as possible. And again, we will have seating arrangements where students will be seated in the same seat every time they ride the bus, just to minimize. We will also do a clean after each run. So if a run that we used to be able to do in one and now it's taking 2 runs, once we finish a run, we're going to have to clean those seats before we go pick up the next group of students on that bus. And then they'll be cleaned at the end of each run. So to make sure that it's ready to go for the next cycle. Child nutrition, again, our child nutrition staffs will all wear face coverings and gloves during food preparation and service. We will have grab-and-go breakfast available to elementary, middle, and high school. Elementary and middle, our plan is to serve those students in the classroom where the teacher is present. Bagged lunches may be brought from home. We're not going to allow food to be dropped off this year. And another big change, I know a lot of parents want to come, they like to come in and have lunch with their child. We're not going to allow that this year, just because of students will be in their classroom and because of just the situation that we're in. So we're going to cut that out for the time being. So when we look at student and parent technology support, again, we plan 3 days before the start of school. We will have technology integration days to where we bring those parents and those students in. They will be able to walk through the technology with their child, with their teacher, going over the LMS, going over the device. And then also, we're going to put together a help desk and stagger some schedules to where we'll be able to answer those questions. Parents can call in. We can answer those questions about the Chromebooks, login information, and/or other information that they may have concerning the virtual component if their child is at home that day or whatever. So we're going to be flexible and work with schedules with our technology department to provide this service as well. So any questions?
I think it's been well planned. I appreciate everyone's dedication and all the hours you have put in trying to come up with a good plan. I know a lot of you have had sleepless nights, and you probably wake up in the middle of the night with ideas. So thank you for all of your help. I spoke with Dr. Ballinger yesterday. Was it yesterday? With some questions, so I think I had most of my questions answered. I am in support of this. I think especially our elementary school students need to be in the classroom. They need the 2 meals that they may not be getting at home. They need the support of the teachers and staff. Some of our children don't even have internet, so it's not even possible to teach them virtually. I guess that we'd have to drop off packets of material to them. And back to the Child Protective Services, I did look on their website last week, and it said since mid-March in Virginia, CPS referrals from school staff have plummeted 94%, and calls to the state child abuse hotline have decreased 50%. I think that's a good indication that we really need, especially our elementary school students in the classroom, where they're safe, where they can get the support of teachers and the referrals. Any other comments?
Dr. Ballinger.
I agree with Ms. Bowers on the elementary school kids. They need to be in the classroom. The high school and middle school kids are probably more able to adapt to what they're going to have to go through. The transportation issue seems to be well planned out, and my congratulations to everybody who participated in the planning. I know when I'm driving down the road, I think of all this stuff, and every time I come up with an idea, I think of the fallout or the ripple effect of that idea is not going to work, and I'm saying to myself, man, what are they going through? So thank you very much for that. My only concern, and this is based off emails that I've received, is and there wasn't that many, maybe 6 or 7, about teachers who have underlying health conditions. And Buck, I'm going to put it on you because I have full confidence that you will work with those folks so that they are not hurt by this situation. So that's a big job for you coming up, and I know that you can do that. So that was my only concern, but I really think that these kids need to be back in school. So I would support the hybrid program as presented.
Thanks, sir.
Dr. Ballinger, are we going to be able to provide any type of child care after-school programs or anything of that nature this year?
Yes, we're still working on that and in communication with our groups to work with providing those services.
And the other thing, and I'm sure that's being worked on as well, is you mentioned that those that are totally virtual can get a 5-day. Do we have any plans in the works maybe to get that food out to the folks if they can't get in to get it, sort of like we've done during the summer, maybe get it transported, like 1 day a week, take it or something like that? Can you just, because I saw it on social media this afternoon, you already spoke to it, but can you speak to the fact that elementary school kids are going to stay in the same room? They're not going to be required to stay in their seat all day long. Can you sort of elucidate on that just a little bit?
Yes, and they still have to have their physical education. So those that are in person, they still will go outside with the physical education teacher. They will still transition to maybe, it may be that there's a small transition that maybe they need to go to a different room for some reason. But they're not going to be required to stay in that seat all day. I couldn't do that. So, and then to answer your first question, sir, I'll defer to Mrs. Shepherd concerning the child nutrition, if that is okay with you.
So the same rules that we have for the summer feeding program apply for this coming school year as for delivering food to our students. So we will still be able to do that this coming fall.
Big question, are we going to be able to do this by August 27th? Or do we need to consider possibly stepping back a little bit?
I'll be honest, that is one of my concerns. I know we're working through, and Mr. Grant would probably need to speak on the learning management systems on a little bit on where we're at there. I know we're purchasing some of our kindergarten, pre-K devices. We still will need to get a few devices there, but Mr. Grant, do you mind speaking on the technology side of things?
So, the LMSs, I believe, Schoology is the one we're a little bit behind on. We're just setting it up right now. Canvas will be ready within a day or two. Actually just got an email from their support team, and we can have teacher logins as early as tomorrow. And the classes are in, and all of those students and everything is in for that. And then for preschool, we're really close, I believe, with Seesaw as well. With preschool and kindergarten, we are, and I'll be asking in a bit, to purchase about 495 Chromebooks or Chrome tablets. That's because, the kids are more used to the tactile. And so instead of having a keyboard, we're asking for tablets. So that'll be half of those, and then we still need another close to 500 for that to support the preschool, kindergarten, and then of course special services, special ed. So does that, you have any other questions about technology?
think so, Tim. Thank you.
I've had a lot of questions, but I do want to thank everybody who's worked on it, from personnel to transportation to IT to special ed, everybody, Ms. Shepherd and Al and you and Lisa. It's an overwhelming job. It's something that we have not seen in our lifetime, and you can't believe how people will appreciate what you've done this year and in years to come, that we were able to keep rolling. And to those teachers who have concerns, we've heard your concerns, we understand those concerns. One of our things that we have to keep in mind and that we pledge when we take this position is everything we do it with the best interests of the student. It's not what's convenient for us, it's not what's best for other situations, it's what do we need to do for the students. And I think for the students, particularly the elementary students, we need to try to get them back into a social situation. And so that's my soapbox.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wells.
Put that away.
Put it away now.
I also had a chance to speak to Dr. Ballinger earlier this week, so I think most of my questions were answered. This is a very thorough, well-thought-out plan. I know it's taken everyone just endless hours. Mr. Wells just said we're not going to choose what's convenient, and I don't think anything about this plan is particularly convenient. I mean, there are a lot of very fine details that everyone's really going to have to be on board with, but I think hopefully it's been pretty well covered, and hopefully keeping everyone's health and safety in mind when we move forward.
Thank you, Dr. Pence. Dr. Ballinger, you've been here about 34 days now. You've been tasked, you and your team, with 2 high school graduations that were a challenge. Now, opening of a school system, that's a challenge, just as the new kid on the block. So my hat's off to you for your positive attitude and your team. You guys all work together very well. And, you know, I was reading all this stuff last night. I spoke with you on the phone. And as you said, I just sent you a book. And the truth of it is, I read it and I read it and I read it, and I couldn't come up with anything that you guys, as a group, hadn't thought of. Not to say there's not something out there. Mr. Wells made the comment that what we do is for the best interest of our students. And the bottom line is, that is the reality of everybody in this room. What we do is because of the students. That's our future. That's who's going to be pushing my wheelchair one day, and I want to make sure they're educated and they don't go, look, here.
Push you off the cliff.
Get him off the cliff. But, no, just to lighten the mood a little bit, because this is really tough on everybody. We do have teachers. I've received emails from teachers that are concerned about their health, and I understand health issues, trust me, and I think everybody in this room does. But then I've received other emails from teachers that are like, I'm glad I'm not walking in your shoes, and I feel sorry for you and your board. But I will stand behind you with whatever you all decide. So that makes you feel good too, because it's both sides, and the teachers with the health concerns, it's not they don't want to teach. They're just worried about it could affect them greatly for the rest of their life, and that's understandable. I look at, you know, Warren County's numbers, and I'm with Dr. Green. I look every day religiously, and they stay about flat with where we are. I think if everybody uses common sense, we follow the plan, and keep your 6 foot. I mean, I know I don't have a mask on up here, but you wouldn't hear me if I was trying to speak. But I'm about 6 foot from everybody. But in that classroom, I love the thing at Ressie Jeffries. The teacher put the tape around the desk. I think a young child will be like, all right, look at this, you know. I think that'll build excitement, and that's what we want. We don't want, I got to put that mask on. You know, you want it to be positive for them. And if we're positive, and the teachers and faculty in general are always positive, the children will react to that, and they'll be positive. You know, our food service group, feeding everybody, just getting them back in the classroom to where they see their friends they haven't seen since last March in a lot of instances. They don't get to go do things. So, being a student, in my opinion, is kind of like, that's my first job. I learned how to deal with authority. I learned how to show up on time. I learned to learn. Because if you know how to learn, then you can accomplish anything. I think about a little pre-K or kindergartner trying to learn to read and sound out their phonics. How can they do that on a computer all the time? I don't know. I'm sure there's somebody out there that can figure that out, and I hope so. But I applaud everybody that put this plan together, and I know we'll probably have some shortfalls, but I know you and your team will fix those shortfalls real quick, and that's called learning, and no one's perfect. So I support what you guys have done for us, and I greatly appreciate it. I really do. All right, that's all I have. I'm off my box, Jim. All right. Any other discussion? Any questions for Dr. Ballinger?
Can I make a comment, Mr. Chair?
Yes, sir.
I just want to say thank you for Mr. Chair and to the board and really to this team setting out here. It did take a lot of work, and they put a lot of time and effort into it, and it is a great team. And the communication and the thought processes that goes into it, and I appreciate each and every one of them for the fortitude that they have shown through this first month of me being here and working with me and not just helping but guiding me at times. So I want to thank each and every one of them personally for helping out and working through this. There is one thing that I would like to mention that I kind of missed in my presentation, that the start of school is slated for August 27th. And our plan is to bring our elementary in the 27th and 28th and do virtual 6th through 8th those first 2 days. The reason being is that we want to make sure that we give that gentleman back there in the back time with our transportation to make sure we iron anything out, any wrinkles in our plan before we bring in the middle and high school the following week. So there is that little caveat, and I forgot to mention that, just because we want to have a couple of days there to do that trial run with our transportation.
That makes sense. I mean, that's really good. Yes, I agree 100% with that. All right.
Need a motion?
Need a motion.
I move to accept the reopening plan for Warren County Public Schools as presented.
Second.
Mr. Valentine, could we do a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Chairman,
Aye.
Mrs. Bauer,
Aye.
Mr. Wells,
Aye.
Mr. Rinaldi,
Aye.
Dr. Pence.
All right. Hearing no nays, motion carries. Next item, approval to request additional appropriations from the Board of Supervisors. Dr. Ballinger.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And this is funding. Funding is needed to provide tablets for both pre-kindergarten and kindergarten classes for the upcoming school year. We are going to use our Title I and our Title IV federal program funds that are undesignated carryover funds, and we want to use those federal programs to allow funds to be used for the purchase of tablets for students. Therefore, it is recommended that the Board of Supervisors be requested to increase the fiscal year 21 school operating fund budget by $185,093 to allow these funds to be received and spent for the purchase of needed student tablets.
Questions for Dr. Ballinger? We have a motion.
I move that the Warren County Board of Supervisors be requested to increase the school board's fiscal year 2020-2021 operating fund budget by $185,093.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing nothing, motion carries. Approval of agreement to sell Blue Ridge Tech Center modular house to the Warren County Habitat for Humanity. Ms. Baker.
Mr. Chairman, Board, Back in the early 1990s, some far-sighted technology, career and technology teachers and the board who was seated at your place now came up with a decision to work on creating an account that would be used to perpetuate the building of a modular home by the students at Blue Ridge Tech Center. This normally takes 2 years. This year, the second year was interrupted by the COVID closure of school. It was this summer that we were approached and have had conversations with Habitat for Humanity. One of the pieces of the policy allows for the sale, instead of a public auction, of the house to be to a nonprofit organization. So if you will look at the explanation, an integral part of the carpentry program at Blue Ridge Tech Center allows students to construct and auction a modular house on a biannual basis. The current environment brought this project to a halt in March. Upon review of potential challenges to be faced in the new school year and the opportunity to work with a nonprofit organization to provide housing for a community family, it is requested that based on Warren County Public School Policy DN-R, the sale of the modular house to Warren County Habitat for Humanity be approved. As required by the policy, the modular house will be sold as is on a cost plus 15% basis. Habitat for Humanity assumes all responsibility for removal and location of the house. This agreed upon amount for the sale of the Habitat for Humanity to Habitat for Humanity is $26,680. That is a cost of $23,200 plus a 15%, $3,480 for a total of $26,680. The entire sale amount goes back into the program in the form of this account that continues for the perpetuation of the house building project.
I'm glad somebody had the forethought to put that clause in there, because these times calls for desperate measures, and I'm just glad we're able to move that so it doesn't sit there and get really
It
tattered.
truly was.
Yes.
It was a wonderful opportunity, and based on conversations, I foresee a partnership growing very rapidly with Habitat, to be honest.
Good, good. Love to. Everybody wins.
How does this compare to what you typically get when you auction the house?
The last 2 years that I have been here, when it was auctioned, it's been in about the same neighborhood. It's never been over 30,000 total.
Okay.
The last time we had the auction, we actually had to bring the house back in and then go about attempting to resell it a second time.
Okay.
Unfortunately, sometimes people think that because we're building the house, that they can get it at a much cheaper price than what we need to sell it for. Our whole purpose is to make what we have inside in the house,
Sure.
as far as cost.
Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So by selling this out, the students coming in this year will be able to build a house from scratch, from the beginning, right? Is that what is that the
That would
purpose?
be the normal way things would progress. At this point, not knowing what this year is going to look like, we are taking a step back and having conversations about creating smaller units that would use the same structural design to allow the students to learn, for instance, how to make the headers and so forth and so on, but not actually produce a house. Again, it's one of those things where we don't want a house sitting there for multiple months at a time without being worked on, which is what happened since last March. It just causes the weatherization of the house to be not favorable for reselling the house, to be honest.
Thank you.
Anything else? Motion? Thank you.
I move that the agreement to sell the Blue Ridge Tech Center modular house to the Warren County Habitat for Humanity be approved as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. RJE copier lease, Mr. Grant.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
The current lease for the copier at Ressie Jeffries is set to expire soon. After reviewing the available replacement options, it is recommended that the attached DSI copiers replace the existing copier. This contract was competitively bid through the Association of Educational Purchasing Agencies. And it's a 36 lease payment for $990 per month, with a total contract cost over the 3 years of $35,640 or $11,880 per year. Any questions?
That's everything cost-wise other than the paper?
Yes, everything except for the paper, ink, all that. I believe there's color in there too.
Thought I read it. That
Yeah.
it was. Okay.
Yeah.
Is this the last school to all be on the same?
I'm pretty sure it is. The next step is getting them all on one,
Schedule.
yeah, at one time, because I don't know if you noticed, but I'm up here like every
Yeah.
2 months.
You are. You are. You see a lot, Mr. Grant.
Yeah, so just figuring out how to get them all arranged in the same, so some may have to be extended for a while or something like that, yeah. So,
Okay, all right. Anything else from Mr. Grant? Have a motion?
I move that the contract in the amount of $35,640 be awarded to Document Solutions for the lease of copier at Ressie Jeffries Elementary School, and that the superintendent be authorized to sign the lease agreement.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Mr. Grant, one more time. Technology
Two more
purchases over. Two more. Oh, yes, it is. Technology purchases over $15,000.
yes. The technology department needs to purchase software to support students, teachers, and staff for the upcoming school year. All the products and services are being purchased under the Vista state contract or our sole source. The three are PowerSchool. PowerSchool is our student information system. That's where we keep all of our records, as well as Gradebook and those types of tools. SysCloud is our security and protection and also backup for our Google Drives and all of the student Google Drives. And then our Microsoft is, of course, the business software. And that also supports our network as well, the servers, those kinds of things. The total cost for these items is $99,700, and the purchases will be funded through the Virginia Public School Authority Vita contract. And then also we have another state contract as well, I believe. No, they're sole source. Okay. Any other questions? Any questions?
I have none. Have a motion?
I move that approval be given to purchase Microsoft software, PowerSchool student information system software, and SysCloud backup, security, and monitoring software in the amount not to exceed $99,700.
I second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Mr. Grant,
One more, last one.
approval of purchases of preschool and kindergarten tablets.
Yes.
Last
Warren County Public Schools would like to purchase 497 Chrome tablets for preschool and kindergarten students. The cost of each of the device includes a case, management software, and a premium warranty. That covers all breakages. So it's a really good warranty. And the cost of these devices will be $184,829.33. And these will be paid out of the Title I and Title IV carryover funds. And then the release of these funds will need to be approved by the Warren County Board of Supervisors before purchasing. And these are also on a state contract as well.
So this isn't tied into the previous motion?
Yes, it is.
Okay, because the amounts are a little different.
Because we're a little below it, because we just couldn't make it work
Okay.
out, so, yeah.
Okay. So we're asking for more to be released by the Board of Supervisors than the cost of the tablets? Is that correct?
Yes,
May I?
yes.
Yes, because that is the max that we could pull from Title I and Title IV.
Okay,
And so that, we still have a few more devices that will need to be purchased, so we will still, as we purchase those devices, then we will use the remainder of those funds that we are asking for right now to claim at a later date.
okay, thank you.
The funds are going into the
Yeah.
same bucket. We
Yes,
just-
yes, sir.
We need 950 devices, really, to cover all of preschool, kindergarten, and then special services, special ed.
When is the next Board of Supervisors meeting? Anybody got?
Yesterday.
It was yesterday?
There was just one
Week
last
after.
night, so it'd be two Tuesdays.
2 Tuesdays from now? Okay, so, all right, thank you, Mr. Grant. Any questions for Mr. Grant?
This takes us K through 12.
That's a good question. So first grade through 12th, we're good. We have all of our Chromebooks ready for them. The 1,400 that we purchased back in June, early June, that covered everybody. We're just asking for kindergarten, preschool, and then special services as well. And that'll cover it if we have about 500 more. So we're working on it.
That'll take care of everybody.
Yep. that'll
What do
take
we-
care
The
of
system will
everybody.
can be completely virtual.
Yes.
What do we do for backup when the student loses it or breaks it?
So we've got extra.
You have a few, okay.
We have extra in, yeah. So we have, right now, we have 6,600 devices, and we have 5,400 students. Now, some of those devices are closing in on end of life, so we just need to make sure we have, all of but there's about 500. So we still have plenty for extra.
Okay,
So,
good.
yeah.
Anything else? Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I move that approval be given to purchase Chrome tablets in the amount not to exceed $184,830. This is contingent upon the Warren County Board of Supervisors' approval of the release of Title I and Title IV funding.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Grant. First reading of July 2020 VSBA School Board Policy Updates. Ms. Shepherd.
Thank you. In July 2020, VSBA submitted 4 policies for consideration by the Warren County School Board. A chart showing the updated policies has been prepared by staff noting the proposed changes. The first reading of the proposed policy changes is tonight. The second reading and discussion is scheduled for the August 19th work session. The recommendation to approve the policy changes will be at the September 2nd school board meeting. And just a comment about policy GBA-JFHA, prohibition against harassment and retaliation. That is a significant change in the Title IX law, and Mr. Smith and I will be attending a virtual meeting sometime this week to get the ins and outs of that policy change. So Mr. Smith is the compliance officer, and I'm the backup compliance officer for Title IX.
We'll hear about that at our next meeting.
Yes.
The shortest amount of updates I've ever seen.
Yes. And 2 of them are the same, so it's really 3. But I think the changes are fairly significant
Yes.
in all of those policies.
They were. All right, thank you, Ms. Shepherd. Any questions for Ms. Shepherd on the policies?
No.
Next up, approval of change order 005 for Title I classrooms for A.S. Rhodes Elementary School renovation. Ms. Shepherd.
Thank you. November 19th, the Warren County School Board approved awarding the A.S. Rhodes Elementary School renovation project to Lance Construction Company of Winchester. On May 19th, 2020, the Warren County Board of Supervisors approved appropriating $1,076,200 to Warren County Public Schools from the 2018-2019 surplus for the completion of the renovation of A.S. Rhodes Elementary School. With the additional funds available from the allocation of the surplus funds, the recommendation is to authorize LCW to renovate the Title I classroom, which includes casework, mechanical, and plumbing work. The additional work was included in the surplus fund request and was included in the original bid as alternate number 4 in the amount of $112,200. LCW is requesting $107,500 for this work, which is a $4,700 decrease from the original bid. The recommendation is to approve the change order in the amount of $107,500 to authorize Lance Construction of Winchester to renovate the Title I classroom at A.S. Rhodes Elementary School. LCW has been a great partner to us for this A.S. Rhodes renovation, and we received the schedule at the construction meeting on Monday, and it looks like they're going to finish 2 weeks prior to when they thought they were going to. So and any time that they can save us a little money, they pass those savings along to us.
That's great.
$4,700 is $4,700. I mean, I'm just glad I don't have to work with you and Mr. Livisit.
I think we're good negotiators.
I think you are awesome negotiators. Those poor guys ran out of pencils. All right, anything from Ms. Shepherd on that? Have a motion? Thank you, Ms. Shepherd.
I'll make a motion, and again, the extra funding was granted to us by the Board of Supervisors, and even though it seems like we're doing these in dribs and drabs, they have allowed us to have the funding, so we appreciate that on their behalf. I move approval be given for the superintendent to sign change order number 005 in the amount of $107,500 to authorize Lance Construction of Winchester Incorporated to renovate the Title I classroom at A.S. Rhodes Elementary School, which includes casework, mechanical work, and plumbing.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Last but not least, Ms. Shepherd, resolution supporting school resource officer grant program and funding.
Thank you. The school resource officers, SROs, assigned to Warren County Public Schools are integral in keeping our students, faculty, and staff safe while developing positive relationships with students and law enforcement. The goal of the School Resource Officer Program is to assist Warren County Public Schools in providing a safe learning environment and to improve relationships between law enforcement officers and today's youth. The SROs provide a role model for our students and foster a positive relationship and better understanding between the law enforcement community and the students and staff. Further, school resource officers assist the school system in developing plans and strategies to prevent and minimize dangerous situations to keep our school community safe. The attached resolution supports continuing the school resource officer grants, programs, and funds to help maintain the existence of school resource officers in our school system.
Any questions? Nothing? Do we have a motion?
I move the proposed resolution supporting the School Resource Officer Grants Program and Fund be adopted as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ms. Shepherd. All right. Anything else for this board? I have one comment that I would like to make before we leave. I would like to thank everyone sitting up here for the endurance, the tenacity that you guys have. I greatly appreciate working with each and every one of you, and I know it's been a tough time this year because of COVID-19, but you all have held your head high and done the right thing. So I greatly appreciate it. Thank you very much. Meeting adjourned.